Alexander III of Macedon, 20th or 21st July 3v6 BC, the 10th or 11th June 323 BC, known as Alexander the Great, Greek Alexandros Omegas, English Alexander the Great, and referred to in Islamic sources as Duakarnain, was the king of Macedon in ancient Greece. He was born in 356 BC in the city of Pella and was educated by Aristotle until the age of 16. Before reaching the age of 30, Alexander succeeded in founding one of the largest empires of the ancient world, an empire that stretched from the Greek seas to the Himalayas. He is regarded as one of the greatest conquerors in history. Alexander played a major role in the spread of Greek culture and civilization throughout the world, and was a principal figure in the beginning of the Hellenistic period, as well as the emergence of the Silk Road. After Alexander's father, Philip II of Macedon, was assassinated by one of his guards, Alexander ascended the throne in 336 BC. He inherited from his father a powerful state and a well-trained army. He was granted the title of Commander-in-Chief of Greece, and he made full use of this position to realize his father's military ambitions. In 334 BC, Alexander invaded Asia Minor, which was under the control of the Achaemenid Empire, initiating a series of campaigns that lasted for nearly 10 years. Through decisive battles, most notably the Battle of Issus and the Battle of Gaugamela, he shattered Achaemenid resistance in the region. He subsequently overthrew Darius III, the Achaemenid king of kings, and conquered most of the territories under Achaemenid rule. At its height, Alexander's empire extended from the Adriatic Sea to the Indus River. From Asia Minor to Egypt, Alexander was hailed as a liberator and quickly entered the realm of myths, tales, and legends, including the story of Dual-Karnain. According to Flavius Josephus, Alexander entered Jerusalem, offered sacrifices in the Holy Temple, and invited Jews to settle in Alexandria. Babylonian inscriptions report that before his entry into Babylon, he was proclaimed king of the world, and the people welcomed him with acts of prostration. In 326 BC, seeking to reach the edge of the world and the great outer sea, Alexander launched a campaign into India. However, at the insistence of his troops, he halted his advance and turned back. After re-establishing himself in Babylon, Alexander decided to prepare a fleet for an expedition to Arabia. Although the fleet was assembled, Alexander died in 323 BC, several months before the campaign could begin. Following his death, internal conflicts among his successors led to the fragmentation of his vast empire and the emergence of kingdoms ruled by his generals and heirs, known as the Dodoki. Alexander's conquests resulted in extensive cultural diffusion throughout the known world. He founded more than 20 cities bearing his name, the most famous of which was Alexandria in Egypt. By settling Greek migrants in conquered territories and promoting Greek culture in the East, Alexander contributed to the emergence of a new Hellenistic civilization whose influence remained evident even in the customs and traditions of the Byzantine Empire until the mid-15th century. Alexander rapidly became a legendary heroic figure comparable in stature to Achilles, and played a prominent role in the history and mythology of both Greek and non-Greek cultures. He became a benchmark against which later military commanders measured themselves, and military academies worldwide continue to study and teach his strategies and tactics. After the conquest of Persepolis, Alexander ruled for approximately 7 years. From 327 to 326 BC, he campaigned in India, and in 323 BC he returned to Babylon, where he fell ill and ultimately died at the age of 32. Alexander, the Arabic adapted form of Alexandros in ancient Greek, is derived from two components: a verbal root, alexein, to defend or to protect, and a nominal component, vandros, man or human. Together, these elements convey meanings such as protector of the people, guardian of mankind, defender of humans, or, in the classical literary sense among the Greeks, a hero who protects humanity. In Greek mythology, the title Alexander was also applied to Hera in the sense of one who comes to rescue soldiers. Additionally, the legendary figure Paris was known by the epithet Alexander. Alexander was born on the 6th day of the ancient Greek month Hekatombion, which likely corresponds to 20th July 356 BC in the city of Pella, the capital of the ancient Greek kingdom of Macedon. His father, Philip II, was the king of Macedon, and his mother, Olympias, was the daughter of Neoptolemus I, king of Epirus. Olympias was Philip's fourth wife, and although Philip had 7 or 8 other wives, Olympias was considered his principal wife for a time, likely because she had given birth to Alexander. Several legends surround the birth and childhood of Alexander. According to Plutarch, the ancient Greek biographer, Olympias dreamt on her wedding night that lightning struck her womb, igniting a flame whose tongues spread near and far before going out. It is also said that Philip, shortly after marrying Olympias, dreamt that he sealed his wife's womb with a sign bearing the image of a lion. Plutarch recorded multiple interpretations of these dreams, including the possibility that Olympias was already pregnant before her union with Philip, indicated by the sealing of her womb, or that Zeus was Alexander's father. Ancient commentators disagree on whether Olympias, ambitious in nature, promoted the story of Alexander's divine parentage. Some believe she informed Alexander of it, while others hold that she considered revealing it immodest and chose to remain silent. On the day of Alexander's birth, Philip was preparing to lay siege to the city of Potidaea on the Chalcidice Peninsula. On the same day, he received news that his general Parmenion had defeated the mixed forces of Illyria and Paeonia, and that his horses had won in the Olympic Games. It was also reported that the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, had burned down and turned into a heap of ashes. Hegesias stated that the temple had been reduced to ashes because Artemis had left it to safeguard Alexander's birth. Such legends may have spread later when Alexander came to power, possibly by his own decree, as a way to demonstrate his superhuman power and his destined rule over the world from the very moment of his conception. Alexander was raised by a nurse named Laniake, who was the sister of Clytus the Black, one of Alexander's generals in later years. Leonidas, a strict relative of Alexander's mother, and Lysimachus, one of Philip's generals, became his private tutors. Alexander was educated in the manner of Macedonian nobility, learning to read and write, play the lyre, ride horses, fight and hunt. When Alexander was 10 years old, a merchant from Thessaly brought a horse to Philip and demanded a high price of 13 talents for it. Philip attempted to ride the horse, but it resisted, and he ordered it to be removed from his presence. Alexander, noticing that the horse was afraid of its own shadow, asked for the opportunity to tame it and ultimately succeeded. According to Plutarch, Philip, overwhelmed by his son's bold and ambitious display, kissed him with tears of joy in his eyes and said, "My boy, you must have a vast empire to match your ambitions. Macedon is too small for you." He then purchased the horse for Alexander. Alexander named the horse Bucephalus, meaning ox head. Bucephalus carried Alexander as far as present-day Pakistan, and when the horse died at the age of 30 due to old age, Alexander founded the city of Bucephala in his memory. When Alexander turned 13, Philip sought a private tutor for him and considered intellectuals such as Isocrates and Speusippus, with Speusippus even offering to resign from his position as head of the academy to take on Alexander's education. Ultimately, Philip chose Aristotle and designated the Temple of the Nymphs in Mieza as the location for their classes. In exchange for educating Alexander, Philip promised to rebuild the city of Stagira, Aristotle's birthplace, which he had previously destroyed, to free or repurchase its former citizens who had been enslaved, and to pardon those living in exile so they could return to their homeland. Mieza functioned as a boarding school for Alexander and the children of Macedonian nobility, such as Ptolemy, Hephaestion, and Cassander. Many of Mieza's students later became Alexander's close companions and generals, often referred to as Alexander's companions. Aristotle taught Alexander and his companions medicine, philosophy, ethics, religion, logic, and the arts. Under Aristotle's guidance, Alexander developed a keen interest in the works of Homer, particularly the Iliad. Aristotle provided Alexander with an annotated copy of the Iliad, which Alexander carried with him throughout his military campaigns.